Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Once again, my name is Alain Ayina. I've been AfNOG instructors since the beginning until I retired recently. And as you all heard, since the beginning, AfNOG is now 20 years old. Because in 1999, a group of us from the region and with the support from some colleagues from the other regions and started some discussion which end up putting in place what we call today the AfNOG, the African Network Operator Group. And the idea was to set up a forum for communication exchange and also for capacity building. And so this idea has matured and has gone 20 years road. And when you are 20 years old, I think it's important that to assess yourself and see where do you stand based on your mission, visions, and goals, and also trying to project yourself in the future. And last year in Kampala, we had a panel on looking at the future. And this year as well, we decided to build on that panel. And the COVID, we didn't know that the COVID pandemic will happen, but the COVID has highlighted the need for, as I heard this morning, of rethinking how do we organize ourselves, how do we deliver our commitment. So then the COVID also add to the pressing need to change how the AfNOG community and organize to achieve the goals. And so for this year, we had a panel of some people who has played roles, different roles in the AfNOG. We're supposed to have Steve Wooter from NSRC, who couldn't make it because of the fire going on in the west coast of America. But we still have other participants, and I think we'll miss Steve for sure, because Steve has been part of the original discussion and he has a lot of to bring. Okay, but then we also have Patrick Okwi, Michuki Wangi, Isaac Tuja, and Ano Amelina. So what I would like to do first and to do a check on a round table and asking each of them to just introduce themselves. Then before we move on, and the panel will have two sections, two different parts. One is to briefly, quickly look at the success, the achievements, and then the second part will be how do we face the current challenge and look for the future. So I will start from Patrick Okwi. Patrick, if you are, can we see you? Can you introduce yourself?
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, and I can see you.
Okay. My name is Patrick Okwi. I am currently enjoying Uganda, much as we are locked down. In terms of my interaction with AfNOG, I started in 2001 as a student. This was in Ghana, and this was my first time to meet many of the people on the panel as well. And by then, one of our instructors were people like Alain, and I think that's also my first time to meet people like Steve. I didn't attend Togo, and then I attended, the next one was in Kampala, we hosted it. If I'm to look briefly from then until now, we've grown from a small number of...
Patrick, just introduce yourself. Just introduce yourself for now. Hold on.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
That's an introduction.
Thank you. Michuki Wangi, please.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amichuki Mwangi. I work for the Internet Society, basically focusing on internet development, internet exchange points, and community networks, and I'm based out of Nairobi, Kenya. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Michuki. Aizatu Ja.
Good afternoon, everyone again. I am Aizatu Ja from Gambia. I actually have been part of the AfNOG team since I joined as a student in 2000. I think we were the first batch of students to join. And I think after that, I attended another session before joining on board to be one of the instructors. So I'm really glad to be here today to share my experiences with the rest of the team.
Yeah, thank you. Arno Amelina is our last. Arno. Okay, good. Arno, please go ahead and just briefly introduce yourself. Arno, we can't hear you.
Me now?
Yes, something's coming up. Okay, can you? Okay.
C'est bon?
Yes.
Allô?
Bon.
Oui.
Yes, c'est
Okay.
bon, c'est bon, c'est bon.
Bonjour tout le monde. On m'appelle Arnaud Amé. Je suis responsable campus numérique francophone de au Togo et instructeur puis la maison avant d'atteindre AfNOG en 2014 à Djibouti. Je suis très honoré de faire partie de ce panel. Merci.
I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt your session, Aina. Just to let the panelists know that if you're speaking in French, please click the French flag for the French channel so that the Anglophones can be able to get the translation at the bottom of the screen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Suzanne. Okay. So and thank the panelists for your brief introduction. You can see me. We seem to be having echo. Maybe I should put on my headset and see how it improves. Hello. 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 Can you hear me? Can
yes,
anyone
hear you?
Yes,
okay,
we can hear
good.
You.
Okay, good. So okay, so let's start with the first segment of this panel, which is a brief assessment of the AfNOG. But I will obviously start with Aizatu Ja. So Aizatu, you've been student, instructors, and also been part of the organizing team. So yeah, what are your assessment of the AfNOG in terms of success, in terms of fellow, and yes, so can you briefly tell us about, because from your various perspective, I think you've seen many aspects of the AfNOG, so can you tell us about what how it has been, the success, and okay, and what we have not done right. Aizatu, please.
Okay, thank you, Alan, for giving me the opportunity to start first. Like I mentioned, I'm one of the I'm privileged to be one of those that were part of the first batch of students that were trained by AfNOG. And prior to that, I had graduated as an engineer, but I didn't have a lot of experience. And AfNOG workshop was actually an eye-opener for most of us who were there, because it really gave us the hands-on experience we needed at the time because most of us were coming from countries that were just beginning to roll out internet infrastructure in our countries. This was in 2000. I think in Gambia, where I'm from, internet gateway arrived in 1998. So this was quite timely for many of us. And for that reason, I think the story is similar in many other countries across the continent. So in terms of building capacity, AfNOG has been quite successful in pretty much opening the door for building technical capacity. Like I would say, in the first session, we had just like 2 tracks, but right now I think we've grown up to 8 tracks, and this ranging from scalable services to scalable network infrastructure and advanced routing, which I think was really lacking. Most of us were just, I can say, monitoring our gateways before AfNOG and not really building the network. We had so-called consultants that used to come to build a network, and then they'll just leave it with us to monitor. But with AfNOG, that was the really eye-opener for us to know that we can really build our own skills and take over the operations of our network. And I'm proud to say that, well, I consider that as one of the main successes, because from there we were able to run our own network. And right now we started, I work for an organization that was the first private ISP in Gambia, and we've grown to become a big network right now. So some of the challenges we've had, I think, along the way has been the funding in terms of getting the students who need to attend to be able to attend. I think most of the organizations in our region are struggling to some extent, and getting the budget support from the organizations to send their staff, or even from universities to send people to attend this workshop has been a challenge. But nonetheless, AfNOG has been providing some assistance, as you all know, for people. But I think the funding, but we've encouraged along the way to make sure that people input something before they get assistance. So funding has been a major challenge. And another issue we've had has been with content, evolving the content so that we keep up with the trends in other parts of the world. And I think we've made some steps along that area by expanding the tracks, but I think there's still much more to be done in that area. Also, some of the challenges I have seen is with localization not happening fast enough. And I think the main reason for that is because most of our countries have very few technical skilled people, and these people are expected to build the NOCs and at the same time keep up with their very demanding work schedules. So it has been quite a challenge getting the participation from the community to be able to build NOCs in order to expand our capacities. So I think some more work needs to be done in that end. Also, what I've noticed is that we don't have enough participation from the educational institutions, which I think will be a good starting point in trying to make sure that we build enough capacity within the continent. So I think I'm a little bit, I've done about 5 minutes, so I just want to give chance to others to touch on other things.
Yes, thank you, Aissatou. And I think I should have said it in the beginning, we are running late, and the session has been extended up to 1:25, so we have to manage time. So if you can even try to use less than 5 minutes, that I will appreciate. So thank you, Aissatou, for showing exactly what AfNOG has achieved so far, and from your experience, I think we should be proud of what AfNOG has done so far, and also thank for pointing out some of the challenges. So so the next I'm going to call Michuki Wangi. So Michuki, you too, you've been AfNOG student, instructors, and now you are working for Internet Society, which is one of the main sponsors of AfNOG. So what are your thoughts from wearing your various hats? Okay, so do you think inside the Internet Society, AfNOG is seen as a success?
Maybe just to quickly go through the fact that I was a student in the same year with Patrick. We met in Accra. And over the years, we've had to take on the mantra of AfNOG, which is to go and train others wherever we could. And that led to the work that we collaborated with AfNOG to start the process of localizing. When I say we, I mean the Internet Society, to localize AfNOG and help support the creation and the establishment of national or local NOGs across the continent. And this is basically as a viewpoint from our organization that there's a need to scale and meet the growing demand. And so one way of doing that is through localization, where we're able to get more and more people trained so that those who are coming to AfNOG are actually coming to do or take more advanced training, and also networking and engaging on much more advanced elements or training components and not the basic stuff. So that's one thing. Secondly, I think we see a growing interest in terms of new partners willing to work with AfNOG. We do foresee a period certainly where the independence of AfNOG will be critical. And our goal is to support AfNOG to be able to reach that level where it is largely independent in its own funding mechanisms and its ability to continue supporting the growth of new and upcoming NOGs, have more local trainers and so on. So the work that has been done so far has been, I'll say, successful to a large extent, but there's still more that could be done. But as an organization, we look at AfNOG as a model on how to grow capacity building and because there's a history behind that, which looks at the very initial INET trainings where everything was done at a more global level. AfNOG was more at a regional level, and now we need to go to the local level where the demand is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mituki, and for being very precise and touching on exactly what AfNOG has done, and for also for emphasizing the issue of the need to do more localizations and strengthening the edge, as I would say. So my next will be Patrick. Patrick, then you also had your own experience with AfNOG. You also have an NSRC hat. So I think you work for NSRC Network Startup Resource Center, which is also one of the main partners of AfNOG. And also, Patrick, I think for 5 years now or more, you're part of the AfNOG NOG team. So you have many things to tell us in the 5 minutes. So from these various perspectives, so how do you see WACREN? Okay, yes, and sorry, how do you see AfNOG over these several years from your various hats? Please, Patrick, proceed, and forgive me mentioning WACREN. So
many hats that are the same. We meet in many places. I would say that the previous speakers have mentioned a lot of what I would say. The only thing that I would add is coming as a student and then coming as an instructor, then joining the NOC team, I was able to see different parts of AfNOG. People forget that AfNOG is not just training. It's training, 5 days of training, and then shorter tutorials, and then there is this, like the plenaries. And initially, many of the plenaries would cover more than just AfNOG. So for example, the first time I heard of CCTLD's meeting, it was actually inside the AfNOG meeting, and it was part of the meeting. And then when it grew, they formed their own. And it was very, very, for me as a student, it was very, very confusing moving from the 5 days of training, and then you come and there's this meeting with everything there at the same time. Now it has moved to a point where people can choose what they are interested in, and they can pay attention to that. So that's a plus. Michuki mentioned that I worked a lot with him, at least personally, to do localization. And one of the things I did within the roles I did is I became a track leader for one of the tracks in particular, which was Unix Systems Administration. And we started this track because we felt people did not have, they were struggling with the main tracks. And the conveners had already told us that you have to give back. This is one of, AfNOG was never a place where people come to be trained, just as people come to be trained. AfNOG was a place where trainers come to be trained. That was the idea. And then, in fact, in your first application, you are required to specify how you are going to use the training back in your country. So that's what we did. We created this track, and then a few years later, I think Cairo was the last time we taught it. Then we started putting in a lot of effort with the different partners, with Internet Society, with AfNOG Chicks, Linux Chicks, and we started putting dedicated effort in making sure that, number one, the content was available. Number two, there were more instructors. And number three, that if somebody needed to run a track, there would be experienced people who've run it from AfNOG who would come and at least participate in the local version. Now you can get it online, right? You can, a lot of the content that you could do that, you could now go online with ISOC training system. And that's just one bit. And I think that the way we've evolved, like Isatou mentioned, we have mostly increased content, and we've not so much thought about the content that we deliberately need to take out of the main meeting, because this content is still very, very important. You can't get it anywhere else, but it's not effective, cost effective, because we've been talking about funding, and we can't have a very, very, very big meeting where we are teaching the same things over and over again. It makes sense to enable our different local NOGs to do these different parts, whether the local NOG wants training, or it wants meetings, or it wants conferences. And I'm very happy to see people like the KE NOG. They're not really doing training, but they're doing a lot of the technical presentations. People like the South African NOG, the SADC region NOG, also doing more of the presentations and the training. So to summarize, so that Arnold can speak, I think we need to do a lot more in intentionally moving some things that belong into the country NOGs out, and we support them to do that. And it might help us attract both funding as well as students, as well as interest in running things at the main event. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, for your your analysis and the comment. So, for the sake of handling the time, I'm now going to give the floor for Arno. Then, after Arno, I will directly open the floor for the audience to comment and ask questions. Then I will come back to the speakers for your closing remarks, or for if you want to respond to some of the questions. So, of course, we only have 25 minutes left now. So, Arno, can you hear me? Arno, can you hear me? Arno, can you hear me? Can others hear me? Apparently, I'm not hearing Arno. Arno?
Last rightmost icon.
Hear you.
Hello? Arno, okay. Arno is I don't.
I think he needs to press his button, his audio sending button, start audio button, something like that. The mic button on the right, on the top right, top left, the furthest
Yes.
button. Okay, great, great.
Okay, hello. 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 Okay, so maybe when once staff is okay, I know. Okay, yes. Okay, now I can hear you, and I hope you stay on. I know. Yes, I think you hear the other, or you hear the other panelists. So I think you joined AfNOG also as a student, and then you became instructor to the French track, to one of the French tracks. So yes, can you briefly tell us about your assessment of the intent of AfNOG? Okay, what do we do right and what went wrong briefly? So Arno, you have the floor. Still, hello. Okay, so I think
he's speaking in French, so we're going to have an interpreter.
Okay. Hello.
Oh, we started 0. First time that we did so back home, not at an AIS session. So it was in 2007. In 2014, I took part in Djibouti and AfNOG and AIS 2011. And my experience with AfNOG was this space where we could share experiences and exchanges between engineers and people with some experience in that area. And during that exchange of experiences, the senior people share with those who take part to the summit, the AfNOG summit. They share their experience in the network exploitation in security area and information system areas. And I found that AfNOG was really a very efficient framework with some people that have much experience who contribute to building capacity for the young African people, whether they being French-speaking Africans or English-speaking African. I believe that if Alan to show the multi-linguistic approach from AfNOG that is not simply in one linguistic approach, but that rather covers the whole of Africa. And I am proud to have participated in the track on the evolutive management of internet and on the network monitoring session. And I found that this framework for these exchanges was quite innovative, very valuable, because the engineers who arrive, and most of them are already involved in the exploitation within their institutions, or they might be students, they express and their satisfaction, and I can express my satisfaction too with these 5 days of intensive training. It's true that this is not enough, but yet following these 5 days, thanks to the materials that AfNOG set up with the lab, with the test bench, test lab, which enables youngsters to gather and gain some immediate experience with not just some theoretical teaching, but also teaching in practice. This is quite innovative. AfNOG was innovative long before the universities that have then followed that kind of teaching model. So AfNOG enabled the youngsters to gain some important skills and competencies in the network management, and this experience was regularly demonstrated to us, because following our training, we had some students that also became some trainers afterwards. And this is something to be really proud of, and AfNOG can really be proud of achieving such realizations, such achievements that means that we have some qualified engineers, whether they're being for government institutions or African businesses. Many thanks.
Okay, thank you, Arno. I hope everybody managed to get the translation from the French to the English. Alan Levin says not hearing anything, but I was on the English channel and I was able to hear maybe. So yeah, okay. So as I said, let's turn to the audience and see if people have a comment, suggestion on what because as you saw, we are trying to assess our sources and our challenges. So if you have any comment or question to the panelists or you have some suggestion to make, yeah, please feel free to raise your hand. So, and while we are waiting for people to line up, okay, I think I have two people already in the queue. So, Gregor Ayomi, please, can you proceed?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Alan. My name is Gregor Ayomi. I also joined AfNOG as a student and now become a French track instructor. So my question is regarding French track. So I have seen very low participation, so that some French tracks are only available when the host country is Francophone. So my question, can we say that we have not did a lot to engage French countries?
Okay, thank you. Let's take Dr. Boubacar Bari, then we will try to answer your questions. So Dr. Boubacar Bari. Boubacar, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Boubacar of WACRE. Thank you to the panelists. And I wish like to say that the education sector do really value what AfNOG is doing regarding capacity building for network engineers. I do think that the education sector is actually the largest reservoir, we have, for enrolling students and getting future instructors, of what AfNOG is doing. And of course, we have some challenges, and I said to touch on one of them is funding, and Patrick also did the same. I do think that in the past years, from my experience, at AAU and at WACRE and AFRE, we have tried to send as many participants as possible to AfNOG workshops, but it's not enough. It's not enough, and that's why I do think that we have to maybe look at having more activities at national level because of the cost. Because the reason why we cannot send so many people, at the annual workshops is the cost of travel, and accommodation, etc. So I do think that one way to have a look at it is to see how we can get more activities at national level that will reduce the cost, especially on travel. Maybe we can find a special arrangement between AFREN and AfNOG, for local, let's say, national activities. This is something we can have a look at, because right now we are putting in place a network of focal points, at national level, where we have NREDs. So I do think that we can join efforts, to get more people involved, in the process. And finally, on the funding issue, I do think that, for the traditional ones, who was supporting AfNOG and like also AFREN and WACRE, etc., at some point they change, direction. So it's difficult to keep them. So, but we have the chance of having now Youth, Africa, and digital economy high on the agenda of many of the development partners. So we have to explore that to to really address the needs of capacity building in our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Boubacar Bari. I think, yes, you raised and touched on some of the important elements we've been discussing here, the funding, the need to do more local, so also to cater with the funding issue. And but before you, Gregoire raised the issue of the French participation, especially in the workshop, and then so I don't know if any of the panelists want to and trying to respond or comment on the Gregoire's concern. So I don't know if Arnaud or either to feel free to comment. So anyone want to comment on how do we? I think Gregoire's point was about the low participation in French track. Sometimes when we go to the English-speaking country, we don't hold French track because of the low stations, and so and then he said maybe is it that we've not done enough to reach out, or is it just the issue of funding? So yeah, so what are your thoughts?
Yes, I think one of the things that I think we have done is trying to get in each track somebody that is very French literate. And I think Patrick can correct me if I am wrong, but I think that was somehow achieved. We understand that that's not enough and that more may need to be done, but I think that was a good step, because even in most of the, I think in technology in general, it's a big challenge getting content in different languages, and English has kind of fallen back as a default. And that's unfortunately. And we know that Africa is a diverse community with different languages, so more needs to be done to accommodate everybody. But I also think that a good, we have to try to, as a start, I think that was a good start. I don't know, I think the transition was supposed to be from that we move on to really developing separate tracks. That was never done. So Patrick, maybe you can.
Yeah. Okay, Patrick, any comment?
Yes, to add on to what Aissatou said, if you remember, there was a time when Jean Robert brought this up amongst the instructors, and his view was we need to do two things. The first was to increase the number of bilingual instructors. The second was to do specific outreach to Francophone countries. Arnold can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the issues that he brought up is when it comes to training, a lot of the companies there look for certification style training. So if somebody comes and then says they want to go to AfNOG because they know that they are going to benefit a lot, they will not get very easily the funding from the company. And this is a problem that they had. So you end up having low participation levels. People are not applying because they cannot get even the partial funding that AfNOG says if you fund partly, we can fund the rest. And that has been a big part. So I think we generally need to work on our outreach. And also, when we work on our localization as well, it has the effect that if you do a localization of an event in a Francophone country, you're not going to do it in English, you're going to do it in French. And the content is already there and we have instructors. So if we increase our outreach, but also we work a lot on the localization, then we can change the mentality of some of the employers so that they are willing to fund their students to come for the larger events as well, or even for the localization events. So I think it's those two things. We've tried to do a bit of it, but we've not done enough.
Yeah, so okay, thank you. I'm sure Michuki and Arno would like to say something, but allow me to take Sheun. Sheun is in the queue, so Sheun, can you please proceed? Sheun? Hello, Sheun?
This is Sean.
Hello, Sean.
Yeah, my mic is on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now, Sean. Please proceed.
Oh, cool. All right. Thank you very much, and thanks to the panelists as well. Good to see your faces remotely this time around. Thanks to the internet. I think what we've been sharing has been interesting memories, and I like the idea that was being suggested in terms of outreach. I think AfNOG needs to intensify outreach. I know AfNOG is not, in terms of AfNOG itself, it's not big, but we have partners we can actually rely on the other AfStars to actually also do some level of outreach for us. I think it's also important that we promote our local NOGs. I like the updates, the usual update that we get, but we should also promote them in those outreaches. Let people know that they are local NOGs and they don't need to actually travel for the continental ones. The suggestion by Dr. Bubakar in terms of the NRENs, that's a good one. But at the same time, I would suggest that NRENs are partners with NGNOGs. Sorry, I said NGNOG. NGNOG is actually Nigeria. Partner with local NOGs as well. So where we have local NOGs that are already existing, let them partner with them. And of course, where there are no local NOGs, NREN can actually serve as catalyst to that. The main goal is that we continue to drive towards having this hosted locally. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I see Stefan in the queue. Stefan, can you? Okay. Then after Stefan, I will close the queue. Okay. Stefan, please proceed. Shaun, I see. Okay. Stefan, please proceed. Then I'll close the queue. Yeah, Stefan, please.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Steven from AfNOG. I'm also instructor at AfNOG for the SIE track. So thank you for the sharings and the insights. Just a few thoughts out there. Like in terms of thinking of the future, I think AfNOG has had a lot of success, so I will not go back to the successes and all of those. But what I want to share is AfNOG should think of how to, that is, prepare the future, that is those who are going to take over those that are there right now. Because when you look at be it the AfNOG or the AfNIC communities, you see the same people all over and over. So we need to really think of how to prepare that that future. And also in terms of the content, we should think of a way of maybe obliging getting the track leaders, the track teams to always try to revamp the content to adapt to the new realities. And also, we don't have to always have the same track all the time, provided that the industry is changing, we have new things that are coming in play. So we should think of how to get these tracks that are relevant to the new trends. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Stephen, for your comment, your input. They are very very useful. So, Mr. I will now go back to Michuki. Michuki, from all I heard that we need to strengthen our relationship with partners. We need to do more localization, and when we need to AfNOG, so which also address the issue of language, because when we are doing things locally, it will be in the local language. So Michuki, from the online, I think Internet Society has been helping AfNOG with the online thing. So how do you see, can the online things scale that to allow that we even from we add the other tracks to it, and how do you suggest that we proceed? Would you please?
Thank you, Aline. So right now we have no choice. We have no choice because if you think about it, the onset of COVID has meant that AfNOG is not taking place this year. So what happens to the training that was meant to take place this year? Can we take it online? I think we've been doing online training, so that's a possibility. That's something we need to explore. And maybe this question that we need to ask ourselves as AfNOG is, so what should be the future of AfNOG? If we're talking about localization, what is the future of AfNOG? I think that lies in producing the content. We have the expertise, so we need to bring the AfNOG expert trainers to start producing the content that should be going online, because that's where you will find partners. Right now, there's a huge buzz around online training, but there's no content that is available online to train. So what contribution can AfNOG make? If we're able to bring all these instructors, the experts that we have in the community to produce the content, take it online, you will find the partners who will help sort of put this in various platforms that can be scaled to the local communities. And it means that more people will be able to do these trainings at the local NOG level, the NRENs, and so on. So that, to me, is an important thought that we need to take. Because everything that we're talking about, whether we're talking about diversity, bringing new partners on board, the question is what are you doing differently? On what kind of impact are you having? So if we're doing the same old traditional way and things have evolved, the kind of impact we're talking about, just training a few hundred people a year, 200 people a year, when others are talking about thousands, it becomes much harder to attract the long-term support from various stakeholders. And so we need to keep rethinking. But more importantly, I think, and this goes back to the conversation we had last year and now this year, is how do we operationalize these great ideas? I mean, we are not short on ideas. We have really good ideas coming forward every year. How do we operationalize them? How do we implement them? What kind of processes do we need to develop, and the mechanics to actually see the ideas that are being mentioned? I mean, what Boubacar mentioned about partnership with NRENs, that's excellent. But how do we move from talk to action? And I think that will be the big challenge that I'd like to take away from this session is let's move from talk to action. And if we can do so, then we'll probably be at a better place by the next event, in-person event, which I don't know when it will be, but at least we'll have made progress and we'll have more people supporting us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michuki. I know you heard about because you are one of the French track, you teach at one of the French tracks, so maybe you have some comment on the French participation to the AfNOG. Is it that the French track is not attractive, or what are your feedback from feedback you get from the participant and from the community? Arno? Hello?
I've worked a lot in the content which are being broadcast through the different AfNOG sites. We have updated the version of the networks, and the team has introduced new innovations with the help of Avanco, who has introduced the notion of cloud, as well as a notion of new tools for monitoring, which can be implemented via the cloud. And that contribution has been greatly appreciated by the technical team of AfNOG, French-speaking AfNOG, and we will keep on updating and contributing to modifying these for the French versions. And I'm also thinking of the internet version, SSF, for the scalable internet services, which has also been updated with the help of Alain Aina on the latest versions of the web services management and the different tools that can be used in doing so. The contributions have been made and we have anticipated on that. And the different managers have always offered some new updates on the new content to be shared, and I think AfNOG has anticipated here, and I think we have a wish is that for the new versions we can find a suitable platform with learning content, which will then enable the learners to self-train, in fact, so they can do it with a system of remediation system, which will enable them to assess themselves, and why not maybe have a certificate at the end to demonstrate the learning. I think this is one of the outlook that we anticipate, and that it will be adding value to the activities, and because the content which is being shared is quality content, and the expertise, the skills that can be learned can easily be converted into cash, and why not improve on improving the skills overall. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Janvier, you are in the queue, but unfortunately I cannot allow you because we are almost at the end of the section. I'm sorry. I know that maybe you should, can you put your question, comment in the chat? So, so I think let me wrap up here and thank all the panelists for making the time to join and for your valuable contributions. As Michuki said, let's move from talk to actions, and at the same time, we have ideas, and we also know that the implementation is not going to be easy, but we have no choice. As Michuki said, we have to do it. We started something, we cannot stop it, and the need for capacity building, and also the need of adjusting what we do, the content and the format, and to the need and the environment. So, and the good thing is we try online, we tried the online training before, so we have experience on it, and we'll probably build on it. And what I see coming is that now that we are online, we'll be able to do more events. So you can notice that this time there is no tutorial, but I think what we should be planning is in the coming 2 or 3 months, we have a series of webinars to cover the technical discussion in the webinars, and then while we are looking at how do we replicate our workshops online. So we will probably, I think the community will hear soon from the secretariat probably on the series of webinars to come, because today we only have 1 hour sections for the technical. And also I'm also taking, and I want to also make a comment. I hear that we see the same people over and over again, but I think, yeah, it's true, but at the same time we are also empowering and bringing in new people, and I don't want us to also stick to the idea that we should push the old people away before we bring the new one. There is a space work for everybody to be done, and you see this morning Steve Crockers, Nick Quenos, these people are still around, and this morning it was great to hear from them on the 15-year experience. So please, let's work together and address our issue and our challenges so that together we can succeed. So AfNOG, success. I thank you for your time. Then I'll hand over to Suzanne